Okay, welcome to our September cheese box, and this month we are going to be sticking with Kent. And to that end, I'm sat in what was one of our old oast houses, late 1800s oast house. This is the old fire rooms where the coals will be burning for the wooden slats and hops to dry above, which of course seasonality-wise is very relevant because September time is when the hop bines get picked. Usually we'll be celebrating this in Faversham with our Faversham Hop Festival, but this year, as you can imagine, we've got to imagine what it'll be like next year. But yeah, real harvest time this time of year, very Kentish. As a working farm, Matnade was a core hop farm here in Kent, and Faversham being a big beer town. But that's another tasting session through our beer selection. So we're going to go through cheeses today, and as I say, Kentish cheeses, and we've got some fantastic producers here in Kent. We've been working with producers for the best part of the last decade, possibly longer, and there has been a real growth in Kentish cheese. You often think of local produce, people enjoying it just because it's local, but the quality of the cheese in the county is second to none. And what I always find with particularly cheese, because it's so much of that of the ground and the land that it's from, the animals graze on the grass of the actual land we walk across. It really reflects where we live, and it's almost like passing through the county through cheese. For me, it's an absolute pleasure to do it. And we'll cross a lot of the county. You'll see us, particularly in the areas of natural outstanding natural beauty. You want lush grass. You want to be able to produce quantities of milk that in turn can roll across to create these cheeses. We've got some goat, we've got some blue, soft and hard, perfect cheese board. Texturally, sensually, we've already got those different colours jumping around. You can see the different textures. The choice of the camembert here will ripen up all the more and start to run. Wonderful, that kind of pearlescent white of Ellie's dairy, really showing the goat's milk off. Rich yellow. You can imagine that's a rich grass has turned into this beautiful cheese here. And then again, that speckling blue that you'd expect from the stable host. So the Kingcote dairies, Kingcote blue, and of course do the delicious Kentish blue as well, but we're going to go with Kingcote today. To go alongside that, as always, we've got some bits and pieces. Crackers, we love Zingy Berry. Zingy Berry are the Kentish biscuit. Yeah, they do these wonderful savoury crackers, have a range of them. We also get beautiful sweet biscuits. But here we've got the oat crackers that will go fantastic well. Again, just a little bit of flavour profile. Don't overpower the cheese, but work beautifully together. Pickle, cheddar, pickle, ploughman's, perfect. Yeah, so the two of them go well together. I think we'll try that, particularly that pickle with the Winterdale Shore, which is a traditional cheddar style. Might not go so well with some of the other cheeses, but I think that's a match made in heaven. For the other cheeses, for those of you that have the wine, as always, take your own wine. You can do whatever you want with cheese and wine. But we've got with a Charlton Vineyard Pinot Noir. I think again, I always love this idea of batting the French in their own games. We've got a lovely Kentish Camembert. We've got a lovely Kentish Pinot Noir. Really shows what's being achieved this side of the channel. But here again, for us in the locality, if you drive between Canterbury and Ashford, you look to the right as you come past Charlton, you will see the very vineyards right on the edge of the road that these grapes come from. A wonderful family vineyard. They've got the lovely dovecot image on the front, and again, it's an old farm. The farmstead itself is just off the road, and again, that dovecot sits at the heart of the farm. Saturday mornings, perfect to go down to the vineyard and taste directly. And of course, with the vines, they're going to be harvested, much as we said with the hops. Harvesting is going to be kicking in soon, so we're right at prime time for winemaking. So we're going to go for that. I'm going to drop that first, just to taste it and see how it. Look at the lightness of it. I think this is one of the wonderful things about Pinot Noir anyway. And again, you've seen this with Kentish Pinot Noir. Really beautiful, light, clear liquid. It's light on the nose, yeah. It's a touch yeast there. It's fresh. Really has a lovely freshness to it. And I think the fruit is there. And that acidity that comes through, I think, will work well with some of the fatty cheeses, particularly with the Camembert. We'll try that as we come on to it. Now, we'll work through each of the cheeses. I'll go with Ellie's Dairy first. Ellie's Dairy is this beautiful little white goat's cheese at the front. And the reason I go with this is because when we do tastings, a lot of people say they don't like goat's cheese. This is a beautiful goat's cheese to get people into. It isn't, it's not overtly farmy as so is often thought when thinking about goats. It has a freshness to it, a delicate flavour. You absolutely taste that element of goat, but also you get a zippiness, a zestiness. That really works well by itself. It also means, again, texturally, that crumbly texture is brilliant in a salad. It's great for cooking. It has that kind of creamy lightness on the nose.
Oh, it's delicious, really fresh. You get that dairy character, you get a bit of that zippy freshness at the back end as well, just some tightness. And they will work really well on bread, on salad, crumble, over all sorts of dishes. But for me, just enjoy it by itself. We use it a lot with honey as well, a drizzle of honey over the top of it. And again, for me, I live in Donington. Yeah, milk for these for this cheese is from goats that graze on the Newnham Valley. As at Wychley, as you go down between Newnham and towards Lenham, the goats graze up on the left hand there. Debbie, who's a cheesemaker, Debbie, whose business it is, whose goats they are. Ellie's Dairy is named after one of her first goats. I worked for many years with Debbie, shoulder to shoulder on our deli counter, so I know the passion that goes into making these cheeses. Absolutely stunning Kentish cheese, really unassuming, really light in flavour, so versatile. I think it's a perfect cheese for the kitchen. But again, from a goat's point of view, very light. It isn't that idea of that big billy goat animal flavour. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm going to do the hard and the blue afterwards. So working with the soft cheese, we move around to Camembert. For me, a lot of these are emotional stories as well. I've grown up with the guys who are behind these cheeses. It's starting to show my age as well. But perhaps none more so than Canton cheesemakers. So here you've got the Camembert, a classic sort of French cheese, but it's made by Jane and her team. Jane is one of the powerhouses of artisan produce here in Kent. We've worked with Jane for many, many years. First at Dargate Dairy, she would deliver us milk from Dargate, it's five minutes up the road, and then she evolved that business and took on a recipe for Ashmore, which was a very well-known West Country cheese, but she took the recipe into Kent and it's refined and improved it, so we have a wonderful hard cheese called Ashmore right here in the county. But this Chaucer's Camembert is a wonderful little cheese, and so right, you can see that beautiful blue on the outside. You open it up, fantastic, yeah. Again, brought up to room temperature even still further, you'll start to see that gradation of the curd, and you know that it's going to be delicious inside. This is still touch firm, but I think just by getting it a bit warmer, and as we always say, if we can get the cheese up to room temperature, that's the core part, so they start to smell and they really start to run. But again, it gives beautifully, still some maturation to be had in this. The thing I love about Jane's cheese is that they're really clean, and I think it's something we've seen them evolve over time. And for me, that's the beauty of working with craft cheesemakers, is they're continually adjusting, adapting, improving their recipe. So visually, I think it's beautiful. It has a lovely cleanliness to the palate. You can find with some Camemberts can have that much more fun, much more intense flavours, much meatier character. But I think Jane also brings that creaminess to the cheeses. I'm going to try with Pinot Noir, because for me that's kind of that traditional French approach, with the joy of it being right on our doorstep. These cheeses are made, as I say, 5 minutes from where we are here in Faversham, and the vineyard is 15 minutes the other side of Selling, the village where much of my family were brought up, and so you've got two local products perfectly married together. I think, and exactly that. It just you get the fruit that comes out of the Pinot after you've had the cheese in there. The acidity just works through on the fat, and I think they're just beautifully balanced products. I think joy for me is this: sun shining. On a chalk slope in Kent, picnic time. You've got Chaucer's Camembert with a bottle of Pinot. You're absolutely made, beautiful. Right, we'll leave the blue till last. Winterdale Shore, I think we'll try and give it a bit of the cracker and some of the pickle as well. We'll try it myself first and then move it through with the condiments. I love all these cheeses, and each one of them has a story for me. On Winterdale, Robin, in fact, I was introduced to Robin by Debbie when we worked together on the deli counter. She knew what Robin was looking to achieve with his farm up at Ruton. And he's from an old farming family, traditionally they were selling their milk into the cooperative approach, really looking to add value, as a lot of cheesemakers have done, into their own milk, and after much consideration and planning, took upon making a traditional style cheddar here in Kent. So cheddars traditionally were made in the West Country. We have a PDO system of protected domination of origin that is a West Country farmhouse cheddar, but actually it is styled as a method of making cheese. And Robin does that beautifully. It's cloth bound, it's about a 10 kg round, and perhaps more than any other cheese, not only within the county but elsewhere as well, it really shouts of its provenance. Not only does the milk come from the farm, as with all these cheeses, but it is then aged in the downs that actually sit beneath the very achievement that Robin makes them. So for 10 months of its aging, it's almost sucking the character and flavour of the very land itself, having first drawn that through the grass that was eaten by the cows and then matured in those cellars. It is absolutely worth going and seeing. And the stories around it for me, even before we've tried it, are so important. I think this is one of the joys at the end of it. On a Friday evening, you sit down with a cheese board like this and you just sit and absolutely picture where each of these products come, who the people are behind them. It gives so much more than just that wonderful flavour they create. Wynsedale Shore, we're talking about 10-month aging profile, and I said about a 10 kg wheel of cheese. So you're looking at the cheese that sort of size. Let's jump in and try it. Me on a personal note, when I first met my wife, she lived in London, so I used to collect these cheeses from Robin on the way back from Putney, driving down the M26. You'd take a hang off the M26, the downs that sit up behind there. I'd give Robin a buzz, he'd know I'd be coming down early in the morning, and we'd meet in the back of the cheese room, sing a couple of rounds in the back of my little, I think it was a Polo at the time, and we'd bring them down to the deli here in Faversham. And one of the joys of these cheeses, and you always have to undress them. They've got these lovely, the cloth-bound cheeses. You open them up, and these cheeses will have been seen for 10 months. You open them up, cut them in half, and you're the first person to really delve into this wonderful cheese. I think that one for the richness. You can get some sweetness coming through from the cheeses. Again, as they soften up, it's lovely. And I just feel them in the actual hand. It has a firm texture in the hand. We often get asked in the deli, what's your strongest cheese? You want a big, strong cheddar? For me, the critical aspect of a cheddar particularly is taste profile, and that it builds and delivers. It doesn't just smash you in the face like might anticipate. A Canadian super strong, and that's exactly what you got with Robin's cheese. Is it starts to build in the mouth. You'll get that sweetness at the front, then you always get some of those kind of those hay dry characters that come through, and it just gets richer and richer, buttery character as well. And again, it will evolve and develop as the year unfolds, depending on what the cows have been eating. I think, again, imagine a cheese that size, when you eat close to the cloth, you can get some of those more earthy characters that you can imagine from the flora and fauna that built up at the edge of the cheese. As you get into the centre of the cheese, it's much sweeter, much milder. But it's absolutely delicious and so imbued with kind of this Kentish heritage. So let's try a good traditional British cheese board with a nice British cracker and a touch of our chutney here. This chutney we make with Jeff Higgins. He does a number of products with us. Jeff Higgins is a fantastic condiment maker in wine, wooden spoon, and this is a recipe we worked with. We worked with Jeff for many years. Again, he's just down the road from us at Wye, near our Ashford site. But again, it's a wonderful product, and this classic chutney, classic cheddar with a lovely Z berry cracker. The cracker just bites, it's got the right crack, it's in the name. The cheddar then, again, that flavour that builds up, you get the initial sort of acidity that comes through from the well-made chutney, the crunch of the vegetable. There's those sweet and sour, savoury characters working in the mouth together. Mind-blowing, absolutely delicious. I think that, the sandwich by itself, as a ploughman by itself, as part of a cheese ball, absolutely wonderful. Drop of wine to go with it, wash it all down. And we haven't even left Kent. For me, this is a real joy, but we haven't left Kent. But, as the crow flies, 15 miles radius from where we are in Faversham, give or take. Just under the lines, absolutely. We are, we call it the Garden of England, and that's old hat. We really are a centre of gastronomic food world these days. Last cheese we're going to go on to is our blue. And again, a little bit like the goats, we'll often find people are often put off the idea, I don't like blue. It's such a wide sector of cheese now. It's not a generic approach. And so I always say to anyone, if you're trying blue, you've got to try it. Okay, get stuck into it. Worst thing is, you don't like it, you can spit it out. Right, but you have to try, you'll often be surprised. You'll get sweet notes in there, savoury notes, salt edges, you'll get different textural characteristics of the cheese. And you'll find, particularly with Kinko, they've got a lovely sort of softness and springiness to this. It's not as crumbly as the Kentish Blue. Kentish Blue is always a very traditional, sort of Stilton-esque British blue cheese, I think. Well, this has got a lovely crust on the outside. It crumbles up. It's lovely. Get that earthiness that comes through from the mould internally with the cheese. Lovely richness. Savoury, it has a real savoury edge to it. And I think a cheese like this, again, a British characteristic, I think we make great blue cheese in this country that have that firm, almost solid texture with that savoury edge. Something quite satisfyingly agricultural about it, I think, and that's what this cheese does. And again, it's a family farm. The Reynolds Staplehurst, they really work so hard by their herd. In fact, they've looked to, where they've moved into cheese making over the last decade, they've looked to improve on the herd they have, looking at the breeds of cattle they have for the best milk, and lifestyle for the cows themselves in the fields. But it's a family affair, and Kentish Blue is the first cheese they brought out. We work very closely with them, and their secondary cheese. But I think it's a lovely cheese, attractive, hugely attractive, important cheese board. You've got that lovely savoury edge, that strong, firm texture, and again, with the wine, I think this would go beautifully. Again, the wine and that fruit-like character to it just balances some of that deeper, richer, sort of savoury character that you get from the cheese. Exactly. Brings the sweet notes out of the cheese as well as the wine. So I think brilliant choice with the guys who stuck the wine. I think Eliza and the team have had a look and see what we've got here, because it works so well with some of the Kentish cheeses. I think the joy with this is because everything is within a locality. They really are bouncing around each other. I think the perfect cheese board, as we said, you've got goats, you've got soft, you've got hard, and you've got blue. That's what you need on the cheese board. A bit of chutney alongside here, that goes to the cheese board, or the next day we're making sandwiches, and again, Zingerberry's Herbay's own cracker, just to finish it off. Absolute delight. Remember, we will have cheese boxes coming through from next month. Not sure what they are, Susie's got leading on those. You want to taste these cheeses anytime you can come into our stores in Ashford, in Faversham, you can taste the cheese at the counter, and of course we're going to be in Tunbridge Wells soon, and we'll be putting a whole load of these cheeses on the menus in our new restaurant as well. Thank you very much, enjoy.